Do you know someone who's on social media but never posts? They're there. They see your stories, they watch your updates, but their feed? Empty. Their last post? 6 months ago. Or maybe that person is you. You have the apps, you scroll, you observe. But when it comes to actually sharing, posting a photo, updating your status, showing what you're doing, something stops you. And everyone around you assumes you're either shy, stuck up, or secretly judging them. But here's the thing. Not posting isn't the same as hiding. It's not dysfunction. It's a choice, a boundary, a completely different relationship with visibility. And psychology has a lot to say about why some people treat social media like a one-way mirror. The most obvious reason? Posting means being watched, and not just by friends, by everyone. Your boss, your ex, that person you met once at a party, your parents, strangers. Psychologists call this context collapse. In real life, you adjust how you present yourself based on who's in the room. You don't talk to your boss the way you talk to your best friend, but on social media, all your audiences exist in the same space at the same time. For people who value privacy, this feels less like sharing and more like performing for a crowd they didn't invite. So they don't. Not because they have nothing to say, because saying anything means saying it to everyone. And that's not a conversation, it's a broadcast. The person who doesn't post isn't shy. They just refuse to collapse into one flattened version of themselves for mass consumption. But it's more than just the audience problem. Posting isn't sharing, it's curating. Every photo is a choice. Every caption is strategy. Every story is a statement about who you want people to think you are. And some people can't do that without feeling fake. They look at their life and think, if I post this, I'm not being honest. I'm selling a version. The coffee looks better than it tasted. The vacation was exhausting, but the grid makes it look perfect. The relationship has cracks, but the photos suggest bliss. This is authenticity anxiety. The gap between who you are and who you're presenting starts to ache. You're not lying, but you're not telling the truth either. You're performing a shinier, edited version of yourself. And at some point, that gets old, so people stop. Not because their life isn't good, because turning it into content feels like betrayal. And then there's the validation piece. Social media runs on feedback. Likes, comments, hearts. That little dopamine hit when someone notices what you posted. For some people, that's the whole point. But for others, it's a trap. Because once you start posting for validation, you stop posting for yourself. You craft content based on what got attention last time. You share the achievement, hide the struggle. You become a content creator performing for an invisible audience's approval. People with a strong sense of self don't need that. They don't need 87 likes to confirm their dinner was good or their trip was meaningful. They lived it, that's enough. The silence isn't insecurity, it's independence. Some people have a different relationship with it entirely. They'd rather watch than perform. They scroll, they see what's happening, they stay updated, but they don't feel the need to contribute to the noise. They're not passive, they're selective. Their attention is valuable. Their updates, not necessary. They're consuming, not producing. And they're completely fine with that. The person who watches but never posts isn't lurking. They're just clear on what they take in versus what they give out. There's another layer people don't talk about. Everything you post leaves forever. Screenshots, archives, the internet doesn't forget. That story that disappears in 24 hours? Someone can save it. That tweet you delete? Already cached? That photo from 2015? Still searchable. For people who are aware of this, posting feels like leaving evidence. Not of anything bad, just of who you were in that moment. And people change. What felt right at 22 might be embarrassing at 30. What you believed last year might be something you've completely moved past. So, they stay quiet. Not out of paranoia, out of foresight. They're protecting future versions of themselves from past versions they might outgrow. But maybe the simplest explanation is the most obvious one. Some people don't post because they're too busy living. When you're fully in a moment, pulling out your phone to document it feels like an interruption. You're at the concert. Do you watch it or film it? You're having dinner with someone you love. Do you be there or do you photograph the plate? Research shows that people who constantly post remember their experiences less vividly than people who just live them. The act of framing, filtering, and captioning pulls you out. You stop experiencing, you start performing. People who don't post have realized this. They'd rather be at the show than record it. They'd rather have the conversation than post about it. Their life isn't less real because it's undocumented. It's more real because it's undistracted. What if the people who don't post aren't missing anything at all? What if they actually have the healthiest relationship with social media? They're not hooked on feedback. They're not performing for strangers. They're not building a brand. They're not measuring their worth in likes. They use the platform without being used by it. Meanwhile, people who post constantly are sometimes running on empty. They need the validation. They need the proof that people are watching. The posting isn't about sharing anymore. It's about filling a hole. The person who stays silent isn't missing out. They've just figured out their life doesn't need an audience to matter. So what does it mean when someone doesn't post? It could mean they value privacy over performance, presence over documentation, authenticity over curation, or maybe they just don't think their breakfast needs an audience. Not posting isn't sad. It's not broken. It's not a red flag. It's just a different way of existing in a world that constantly asks you to prove you're alive. The people who stay silent aren't hiding. They're refusing to turn their life into content. And maybe that's the most honest thing anyone can do.